Hello. In this video, we're going to look at the assignments for Unit 2, Activity 5. And there are two assignments. The first one is Unit 2 Review. And if you remember, at the ending of Unit 1, we did a review as well. And I just gave you, I think it was 10 questions that reviewed the different topics that were covered in Unit 1. Well, we'll do the same thing for Unit 2. There's going to be a review sheet here, and you can click on it and download it, and you can answer 10 questions. And those 10 questions will ask you to explain the different story elements that we covered in Unit 2. This assignment will not be graded. It's just meant for you to review the material and hopefully feel comfortable with the material, and for you to make your own notes. I am asking you still to submit your answers to the Dropbox, and I will give you feedback on your Unit 2 review answers, but I will not grade it. And so just to show you what that'll look like, if you open up the Unit 2 review in Microsoft Word, you'll see that, again, there are 10 questions, and we'll start with character questions, and they'll be very simple, hopefully straightforward questions. They're not very exciting questions. They're just questions that'll ask you to explain the concepts that we covered so that you have your own notes that cover the whole unit. And so, for example, the first question will ask you to explain the 4 different character traits we looked at in Activity 1. And then we also looked at what a character sketch was in Unit 2, Activity 1. And then we move on to Activity 2 and plot. And I'm going to ask you to explain the 5 different parts of plot. And I'm going to ask you to identify the different types of conflict, both external and internal. And then if we break it down further into the 4 types of conflict, character versus society, versus environment, and versus self. And then if we keep going, we have setting. And so I'll ask you to briefly explain the 3 different parts of setting. So that's place, time, and environment. And then for me, this is an important one that'll be very important if you move on to the grade 12 English class. You'll have to be able to explain the atmosphere and mood in stories. So it's important that you know what atmosphere and mood means. And then we have one more question related to Activity 3, the difference between directly stated and indirectly stated information. We covered that at the very end of Unit 2, Activity 3. And then in our previous activity, in Activity 4, we looked at point of view. So what is first person, what is third person limited, and what is third person omniscient. So I would expect you to have a brief definition of each. And then lastly, what is the difference between a subject and a theme? For most of these 10 questions, you can just look back into the activities and find direct sentences that answer the questions. It doesn't matter to me whether you write your answers to these questions in your own words. Sometimes you might have to write them a little bit in your own words. They might not be directly answered inside the activities. But if you want to use the words in the activities, if they apply to the question, that's fine too, because this is your notes. This is just a reminder of the different topics we covered. All right, so that's Assignment 1. Assignment 2 is the important one, and I'm calling it a test. It still works as an assignment. You can still download the material and answer the questions and submit the questions to me when you finish. So it's not a test in the sense that you have to come into class and write it, but we're calling this a short stories element test because we're going to take everything we learned about short stories, look at one final short story, and you're going to show me that you can apply those elements to a story one last time. And so the story that we're going to look at is called My Selfish Mistake. And you can look at it online as a PDF, and it looks like this. It's about 2 pages. Or you can download a Microsoft Word version, and in that case, it looks like this right here. And again, same story. Doesn't matter whether you read it on Microsoft or whether you read it online. It's just two different options. And this story is going to be about a teenage girl who thinks her mom is placing too much responsibility on her. And as you read the story, I want you to pay attention to the story's characters, plot structure, conflict, setting, point of view, and theme. So all of the different elements that we've covered in Unit 2. And when you've read the story and you feel like you understand it, then you can move on and download the Story Elements test. And the goal is to answer all the questions in full sentences. And there's 3 different parts to this test. Part A is content questions. So they're just going to be questions that'll have you show that you understood what was happening in the story. Part B, and for me this is the most important part, story element questions. You're going to have to answer questions about character, plot, conflict, setting, point of view, and theme in the story. And you'll have to be able to use examples from the story to support your opinions about the characters and plot and setting. And then part C is going to be a paragraph question. And so what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to write about an event or an experience in your life that you later regretted. Regret is going to be a topic in the story. So once you've read My Selfish Mistake, I think you'll quite quickly realize how regret plays into the story. And so I'm going to ask you to apply that to your own life and write about yourself. You do not discuss the short story in this answer. In Part A and Part B, you're writing about the short story. In Part C, you're writing about yourself. And if we just take a look at the actual document here, you'll see in Microsoft Word, I've opened up Story Elements Test, My Selfish Mistake. You'll notice that it's worth 40 marks, which is a lot of marks. It's the highest marks we've had for an assignment so far. And you'll notice Part A, the content questions, 3 questions just making sure you understand the story. Part B, the story element questions. So we have plot questions, character questions, setting questions, point of view and theme questions. So that gets us down to question number 9. And then the last question is Part C, paragraph question. So make sure you use a proper paragraph when you write this answer. Indent, have a clear topic sentence, have supporting details in your body sentences, and summarize in your concluding sentence. And the question will read, and I've already mentioned it from the assignment page, but it'll read, think about a time in your life when you made a decision that you later regretted. In one paragraph, explain that decision, why you regret it, and what you learned from the experience. So you're just going to take that as your topic and write one proper paragraph. And that's it. Then you'll submit it to the Dropbox and you're done Unit 2. And the next time you'll see a video from me will be introducing Unit 3. I hope this helps. Thanks.